Alright, good evening everyone. Kasama po natin today si former Vice Admiral, right? Admiral Ong and of course
Yes.
current... tama ba? Mali bang kinuha ko? Ulitin natin yung taping natin. Wait lang. See, I'll just call you Admiral Ong na lang para walang problema. Okay, ulitin natin. So, apply po ako. Okay. Alright, good evening. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, wala. Naging conscious na ako tuloy. One second. Ito na. Good evening everyone. Ito na, marami tayong pag-usapan, daming ganap as always. At katulad ng pangako natin earlier, we want to talk about tactical, situational, operational, lahat ng mga scenarios na nakakatakot at hindi masyadong nakakatakot na pwede mangyari sa West Philippine Sea, particular sa Ayungin Shoal. So in order to discuss this thing, kasama po natin ngayon, Professor of Practice at Ateneo de Manila University and of course, former Admiral sa Philippine Navy, si Admiral Ong. Thank you very much, Admiral, for joining us.
Thank you, Richard, for inviting me. Good evening.
Ang dami natin pag-usapan, Admiral, but katulad ng ginawa ko kay Justice Carpio, magkaroon tayo ng konting Ronald Diamas moment. I know you're not gonna like this, but by the way, anong tingin mo na tatlong Duterte ang tatakbo for Senate? I mean, this is the news right now. Isn't this crazy?
Parang family corporation na yun. Nightmare scenario. Family dynasties. So mangyari yan, we're gonna have a few, maybe 3, 4, or 5 families lang in the Senate.
Yeah.
Labas nun.
So, baka dalawang gatchalian, baka nga, although nag-deny yung isang gatchalian tatakbo, magre-replace yung, mag-switch lang yung ibang family members ng Villar family. And then, dalawang Estrada nandun pa rin. And then, dalawang Tulfong tatakbo, so potentially 3 Tulfos there, Ben, Erwin, and Rafi. And to make it even more interesting, tatlong Duterte daw potentially tatakbo. Although, Admiral, my concern is, sino maging mayor ng Davao, right? I mean, if Pulong, Paulo, and Digong, Pulong, Baste, and Digong, all of them run, then, sino maging mayor? Si Sara? Have you heard that? That crazy, the Methodist madness scenario where Sara will resign from VP and run for local government, either as a congresswoman para habulin daw niya yung Tambaluslos or as mayor of Davao. What is your understanding of that? Again, Admiral, of course, this is with the caveat that hindi ka si Ronald Llamas siya yung gagamitin ko later this week.
Well, narinig ko na yan yung possibility na yan. It's been running around conversations in public. So, pwede. Pero, hindi ko makita na yung from Vice President at bababa ka ng mayor. Unless...
Medyo crazy, no? Yeah.
Mas importante sa kanila i-protect yung value nila. Kasi yun yung parang base nila.
Yun nga you want to protect your strategic depth, no? At saka yung, kasi potentially yung pwede gawin ng admin is to support yung mga kalaban nila. I don't know if Nograles is, but I'm sure there are other people who are also eyeing the office of mayor in Davao. So, I don't know, it will be too risky if all of them run for national office. Kaya I doubt na this is the scenario. But the reason I ask you, Admiral, about this issue is because aminin natin, mahirap na intindihin ang foreign policy ng Pilipinas nowadays kung hindi mo, 'di ba? Hindi mo kino-cover yung domestic politics kasi yung nexus ay napakalakas na because let's be honest, yung isa parang Team China ang dating, 'di ba? I'm not gonna di umano na Team China na yung iba, 'di ba? In a sense na very clear yung line nila. No comment every time na may mangyaring masama sa West Philippines laban sa atin or sasabihin nila don't demonize China. So, I don't know. This is looking like an elections whereby China and Philippine foreign policy could be one of the big issues, not the big issues. Anong basa mo dyan, Admiral? To what degree you as a defense foreign policy guy feel yung compelled to really understand itong granular details ng West Philippine Sea? Aside from listening, of course, to R&R and podcasts natin dito.
Well, I'll tweak it differently from another lens. Yung from a lens of China. Nahihirapan siyang i-manage tayo
Right.
because of yung ating defense and foreign policy posture. So malaki yung
Tama.
there is a compelling reason para sa kanya to actually interfere in our forthcoming elections and put yung candidate na mas palatable sa kanila or mas agreeable sa policies nila. So hindi lang natin titingnan yung lalaban ng national, tingnan din natin yung lalaban ng local elections, particularly in what we call strategic areas na may impact sa maritime security natin.
So
Kasi,
Cagayan, we already see that in Cagayan, di ba? With Mayor
Yeah, we've seen-
with Governor Mamba, yeah.
yes, we've seen that in Cagayan. We've seen that in some other areas na critical, yung daluyan ng maritime traffic. Okay? So, importante yun. Katanduanes. Okay? Lumalabas sa, sa
correct.
social media yung mga posts. But, valid na reason, valid na concern yun kasi Catanduanes is where? Malapit siya sa Benham Rise, sa Philippine
Right.
Rise. Okay. So, very important yun.
Yun nga eh. So, do you think this will be the first elections, Admiral, where by proxy war talaga, all-out proxy war ang pwede mangyari dito?
Yeah, posible. Kasi the stakes are very high. At least for China, it's very high.
Yeah.
Lumalabas tayo yun naging major impediment sa kanyang ambition dito sa region.
Right.
Sa ASEAN na lang, Richard.
Right.
Sino na lang ba sumasalungat sa kanya? Siguro tayo, and to some extent,
Vietnam.
nuance lang.
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Yeah.
But the rest, totally,
Yeah.
pro-China na yan. I've seen a list of yung parang bagong requirement ng CCP ngayon is you have to be part of the global South.
Yeah.
You have to make a statement you are for reunification with Taiwan.
Grabe, no?
Para bibigyan ka ng pansin ng CCP when you go to Beijing.
Right.
So meron ng ganong angulo.
Na-weaponize talaga nila yung Global South discussion, no? Whether ito yung Gaza issue, whether ito yung, the whole BRICS drama, kasi Thailand and Malaysia want to join BRICS. And ako, particularly, no, I'm very worried with Prime Minister Anwar of Malaysia because he's trying to position himself as a kind of a Global South leader, the Mahathir of 21st century. So that makes him very vulnerable dito sa weaponized discourse ng China na, it's us, post-colonial, East against the West and their hypocrisy and Islamophobia and xenophobia. Ganon yung diskurso eh. So, in that environment, it's so easy for Malaysia. I mean, I'll say it openly, Admiral. So there was the Asia-Pacific Roundtable just weeks after the Shangri-La Dialogue when President Marcos gave his speech, right? Ang balita sa akin ng iba, hindi ko sabihin sino, na ang PRC daw may veto na kung sino maimbita sa Asia-Pacific Roundtable. Allegedly, di umano. So that's why no wonder konti lang mga Pilipino na imbita at mukhang malabo tayo maimbita anytime soon. Not my loss anyway, not a big deal to me. And one of the discussions that came out there, mga nagmarites sa akin mga puti na sympathetic sa atin. Sabi niya, alam mo Richard, anong sinasabi nila? ASEAN minus Philippines. Yun yung discourse sa Kuala Lumpur. Na tayo ang troublemaker. Na tayo ang provocateur, 'di ba? Na tayong deputy sheriff ng Amerika sa South China Sea, sa ASEAN. Ganun na yung sobrang toxic. Ako naman tumawa lang ako. Huwag kayong mag-alala, sa Pilipinas ang tawag namin diyan, Philippines minus ASEAN dahil napaka-useless ng ASEAN, 'di ba? If not worse. I mean, do you think now we're totally isolated na in Southeast Asia? So better we move towards the Northeast Asia with Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and towards the Pacific. And meaning New Zealand, Australia, US. Yun ba yung natural na strategic orientation natin? Not by choice, but by circumstances?
Well, I would agree na na tayo, Richard, outlier na tayo sa ASEAN eh. We no longer share the same strategic interest eh. Of course, may residual, ando pa rin yung residual engagement natin sa kanila dahil historically tayo one of the original members ng ASEAN.
Yeah.
Pero kung titingnan mo, the way nag-evolve yung defense and foreign policy posture natin, ang nagkakaroon tayo ng shared interest is not with Southeast Asia but rather the Northeast Asian countries. So we're going to Japan, South Korea, of course, if you go much further, aside from the US, siguro Canada and Australia.
Yeah.
So yun na yung natin eh, doon na pupunta yung direction ng interest natin. Na kung titingnan natin yung mga economic engagement o economic commitments arising from, let's say, yung trilateral summit, yung engagements with Canada, engagement with Australia, in terms of economic resiliency, doon nare-resolve yung mga problema natin eh. Yung mga gaps natin sa economy. So ang nakita ko talaga, if we try to be quote-unquote Machiavellian about it, we position ourselves at the center.
Realist na lang, realist. Medyo sira na yung Machiavellian. Realist. Yeah.
we want to be realist.
Yeah, yeah.
Positional serve as the parang may sarili tayong hub and spoke mechanism.
Yeah. Pag
Tayo
ganyan.
yung hub.
Oo.
Southeast Asia orientation with ASEAN, then a Northeast Asian orientation
Ay, yung
towards the other countries, yung mga
Yung
like-minded.
jacket ko pala.
So, ganun ang ano natin, ganun magiging positioning natin.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, wow. It's crazy. I mean, the reason, I mean, it's not like hindi nag-effort si Marcos, di ba? Ilang beses na siya bumisita sa Singapore. Very good yung dynamics niya with Vietnam. Bumisita siya sa Vietnam. He's trying to reach out. Indonesia, Jokowi pumunta dito earlier this year. Si BBM pumunta noong 2022. Parati na sinasabi ASEAN centrality. So ano yun? Parang so for us to be like the rest of ASEAN, essentially we should just shut up on what's happening in the West Philippine Sea. Is that like the only way we can find the Venn diagram overlap with them?
Ito yung problema, Richard, and we have to give credit to the CCP, no, to China, yung efficacy ng kanyang geo-economic strategy.
Right.
Kasi hindi naman unlike the US na security yung way of linking. Sa China, it's economic.
Right.
And hindi siya economic na pangmasa. It's economic, ang engagement siya, political elites.
Yeah. I mean, cooptation, essentially.
It's economic strategy. Tapos, tinapatan mo ng United Front for given that recipe, what do you think will happen? So you have yung political leadership ng mga countries ng ASEAN o Southeast Asia gravitating towards China. Okay.
Right.
Yun yung binabangga ni President Marcos, hindi natin kaya yun. Kasi wala tayong critical mass para na compared to China para to exert that level of influence. Particularly among the political elites ng ating neighbors to swing them to our way. Best effort siguro pag diplomatic mission tayo with the ASEAN countries, parang natin, we try to convince them, okay, ito yung position natin dyan. But with low level expectation, we will succeed. At least, articulate mo yung natin, yung position na why we are acting this way with respect to China.
Ang problema ko sa ganyan position, which I think is the status quo, right? Which is, hayaan mo na lang, let's just go with the flow, tanggapin natin ganyan, is parang may pagka-boiling frog na tayo. Kasi ako kasi, my alternative would be, and this is also risky, and it could make things worse, I admit it, is call it out. You shame the rest of ASEAN. Well, forget about some of the countries that we don't have to mention, pero at least Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, ito yung mga mahalaga. Well, Vietnam maybe not as much. Na sana naman, di ba, pakita kayo ng konting solidarity. Sana naman, hindi kayo mag-lawyer for China. Hindi kaya baka we have to call it out also a little bit more na we are just taking the punches and parang boiling frog tayo. It's just a matter of time before they completely excise us out of ASEAN through psychological warfare and all. I mean, talking about China and their proxies.
Well, we can call them out, no, Richard, pero medyo doubtful ako doon sa yung babardagulan natin na tayo call out. Kasi ASEAN pa rin yan na culture So it's not, they don't want yung concept of face. You have to give them face. So even if we totally disagree, but we need to provide look for a parang medium or space na we can articulate yung concern natin. Okay, we're calling them out, but hindi naman natin sila pinapahiya. Or maybe we can look for allies within those countries. Kasi I would
so minilateral. I mean, that's the only way. Minilateral. Just work directly with Vietnam, a bit with Prabowo. Kasi I'm hopeful on Prabowo na he might turn out like Marcos. Horrible reputation, scion of dictatorship, pero biglang internationalist.
Pero ang binabangga mo sa Indonesia yung economic elites niya. Kasi economic elites niya yung
resource exporting to China, or nickel, all of that,
So we don't know I'm not familiar with the dynamics within yung political at economic elites ng Indonesia. But kung malaki yung say ng economic elites nila to policies, government policies, then I think may yung wiggle room o yung space ng leadership ng Indonesia, political leadership ng Indonesia, meron ding may konting restriction din yun with respect to yung China policy nila. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
economically, everyone is dependent on China, including the Philippines. I mean, nagsalita yung pinakamayaman na pamilya dito, di ba? Hindi Villar, yung isa. Na ingat-ingat tayo, baka naman yung trade ganun. Pero ako, I don't know, kasi ako, I count on vanity of Prabowo, this kind of leaders, that, Indonesia is not just a factotum of China. Hindi lang tayo mina lang ng China, di ba? Na Indonesia is also a G20 country, a major force, non-aligned, blah, blah, blah. And a good friend of mine, si Ivan Laksamana, no, from IISS, wrote this very interesting piece about kung titingnan mo yung rhetoric ng China-Indonesia and Indonesia-US, and titingnan mo yung number of military exercises, right? Military agreements, ang liit lang sa China, ang laki sa US. So minsan may pagka-performative din yung Indonesia na they make it look as if they're very balanced, global south, blah blah blah. But deep inside, they also don't trust China. They're very worried about Natuna, right? They're very worried about Chinese, infiltration and on a more dark in a more dark sense, also the anti-China sentiments in Indonesia. They have history of pogroms and all of that. So may anti-communism. I mean, for 25 years they had no relationship with China during Suharto period, diba? So I don't know. I mean, for me, medyo wild card ng Indonesia. So it's worth investing in. And who cares about, I don't want to name that other leaders like Hun Sen. Okay, name ko na. But who cares about Hun Sen if you can have Prabowo more sympathetic to you? Or
well, if
yeah.
that's the case, siguro that would be a leader-to-leader engagement. President Marcos mismo yung...
Well, exactly, because Marcos is good in that. Schmoozer yan, di ba?
Oh,
Magaling silang pareho. They can do that. Golf diplomacy.
yeah. So, yun pwede siguro yun. The way you framed it, pwede yun.
Yeah, I mean,
Pero of course, there's Vietnam. You mentioned Vietnam already.
yeah, exactly. I mean, again, I see the wisdom of Marcos' strategy. Like, don't expect 10, but maybe we can get 5 or 6 out of this. That's better than 0, right? Reach out to Vietnam, reach out to Indonesia, and then let's see with Anwar. Sabi ni Anwar naman, nag-usap daw sila ni Marcos, gets na yung side ng Philippines, so he will push for aggressive diplomacy next year. Kasi ang chairman ng ASEAN is Malaysia next year. At for sure, Gaza will be number 1 issue to them for understandable reasons. But ang hope natin is sana naman on the West Philippines, hindi sila mag-Cambodia. Diba? They'll do slightly better than Indonesia, hopefully even. Dahil direct claimant state din sila. So, konting naman, diba? So, ako again, for me, hindi mutual exclusive yan. Once in a while, call out ASEAN 10's shortcomings, but at the same time, accept na may talagang limitasyon yan. Pero minilaterally, go for Prabowo, go for Vietnam, put pressure on Anwar. Like, kailangan talaga i-step up natin yung ASEAN diplomacy natin kasi I'm sure we have great diplomats. Pero sa pagkaintindi ko, pagdating sa ASEAN, very conservative yung diplomacy natin. Hindi siya kasing aggressive ng, European diplomacy natin or American diplomacy or definitely Chinese diplomacy natin. So ako, I suggest a little bit more Carino Brutal, di ba? Ako kasi I love ASEAN. I'm very proud that we have an organization with ASEAN. I can go to Vietnam, Brunei, any country in the region without the need for visa. Di ba? It's a big deal to me, this accessibility, this common cultures. So, na-hurt talaga ako, Admiral, no? Yung idea na, parang pinupush out na tayo, na OOP na tayo sa sarili natin riyon. Hindi naman tayo Kano, hindi naman tayo Hapon. We're neither Northeast Asian nor white. I mean, we're not. We're Pacific, Southeast Asian people. So, I just have mixed feelings on that. But I see where you're coming from. Now, Justice, in the meantime, baka ma-depress lang tayo sa ASEAN na yan. Let's get more depressed. Hindi naman. Dito sa Ayungin Shoal, and this is why I wanted to really talk to you, Admiral. What's the good, what's the bad, what's the ugly? Kasi for me, the good is, correct me if I'm wrong, mukhang na-fortify na natin yung kailangan natin i-fortify. Diba? I was told na baka for the next 10 years, medyo okay yung structure natin dyan sa BRP Sierra Madre. So, mukhang construction materials got through. I don't know if enough. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have metallurgical engineering friends who are kind of skeptical about it, but you correct me on that. You're the Navy man. The bad is, China has crossed a psychological barrier. Yung idea na they can just forcibly come in and disarm us and humiliate us and wala silang pake kung ano mo yan, ma-transparency mo yan or hindi. And the ugly is, what if they'll do that en masse, like yung ginagawa nila sa Himalayas sa mga Indians, but 10-to-1 ratio, yung magde-drop sila ng tao with machetes and whatever kung fu stuff. Dyan sa BRP Sierra Madre. What is your take on this good, bad, and ugly situation? Is it all bad? Is it all good? Is it all ugly? Like, What are the shades of concerns and also relative credit that we should give to the administration?
Okay, deconstruct natin yung problem that you posed to me. Number one, Sierra Madre can still withstand for 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, yung Sierra Madre kasi
Good
nakapatong yan doon sa pinaka-low, nakapatong siya mismo sa shoal. So, hindi yan mangyari lulubog. Okay? Ang repair kasi na ginagawa natin Sierra Madre is actually more for habitability purposes. To make it comfortable doon sa tropa natin sa loob that are staying there or deployed there. So, yun yung constantly nire-repair natin. We're not actually repairing the entire ship. Okay? Just a portion of it, yung section that contains yung living spaces ng ating tropa. Okay? So, if your information is correct, pwede po siya ng 10 years, that's good. But of course, it's not just structural. There are peripheral systems that needs to be in
Yes,
place.
please explain, yeah.
Yung water, yung potable water, fuel, kailangan mo rin ng power doon for your electronic equipment.
Right.
Radio, yung communications mo. So, yung mga ganon. So, even if you say 10 years, you still have those sort of nitty-gritty problems, yung the devil in the details type of problems that you will encounter.
So,
Eh,
or
masisira
maybe,
pa
Admiral, sorry to again simplify. So maybe the skeletal part has been kind of fixed, but the meat, the steak, yun yung kulang, di ba? Electronics, food supply, all of those things.
Yeah. Second, and this is the vulnerability ng position natin. Kasi yung weak vulnerability yung critical vulnerability ng position natin sa Ayungin is not the Sierra Madre itself. It's the mobility corridor or supply corridor that we need to maintain to sustain yung Sierra Madre. Okay? And that's the supply corridor between Ayungin Shoal and Mainland Palawan kasi doon yung pinagkagalingan ng ating supply ship. Okay? So that's the vulnerability natin.
Yeah.
Tapos, the reason why nagkakaproblema tayo is merong capability yung kabila na hindi natin mahirapan tayo i-offset. And that's capability nila to swarm vessels.
Yeah.
Be it PLA Navy, be it Coast Guard, be it militia. We've seen that they've done that sa Scarborough Shoal during yung civilian convoy. And they've been doing that in some areas also in this Pratilus Island. So yung capability to swarm is basically inherent to their yung strength nila yun, critical strength nila yun. Okay? Pangalawa, yung they've already employed tactics that they borrowed from the border conflict nila with India. So we need to level up also.
Yun sa Ladakh and Himalayas, yeah, with the Indians, yeah.
So kailangan din tayo ng mag-level up in terms of having melee weapons to be able to at least there's modicum of parity of yung capabilities. Hindi siya lethal pero kailangan siya. Okay? So yun yung doon, problema natin. Now we need to break the cycle yung ano ba yung pwede nating gawin that will break that vulnerability, which is yung dependence ng Sierra Madre to resupply. Okay? Kasi yun yung nila, yun yung inaatake nila kaya nga may blockade sila around as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Kasi because they have preponderance of force, they already they have dominancy control ng the waters around Ayungin Shoal.
And escalation domination. Yeah, and also escalation, yeah.
Even if na-control natin yung loob because nandun Sierra Madre, nako-control nila yung labas kasi hindi natin ma-challenge yung presence nila. Okay? And because they dominate yung paligid, ang natitreated palagi yung supply corridor natin. Okay? Na dinadaanan ng supply ship. Okay, kaya ang conflict is not sa loob ng Ayungin Shoal, it's in the supply corridor ang labanan.
Yeah. Now, that's the big operational landscape. Now, what about the scenario of them forcibly trying to take over BRP Sierra Madre, should we be clear na first of all, ang rules of engagement is our naval forces are sanctioned to use lethal force to defend themselves and to protect our base. And then also that the US and the Americans and the Filipinos have to also signal that the MDT will be activated in an event that the Chinese essentially provoke an armed confrontation, kinetic confrontation.
I think I'm not sure if it's clearly stated, no, but I think we need to restate or be emphatically restate
Yeah.
that we are declaring free fire zone around, let's say 100 meters around Sierra Madre. Ibig sabihin, pag pumasok ka within that range, pwede kang gamitan ng deadly force. Okay? And dapat communicated sa kabila yun na once you do that, when you fall within that perimeter na natetrating kami, we will shoot you.
Yeah.
Okay? So very clear dapat yan para hindi masabing sasabihin nila, nabigla sila, binaril natin. Okay? Once communicate, hindi yan tinatago dapat alam yan ng kabilang side na I will shoot you if you come near my ship at this distance. Okay? Pangalawa, I don't see na ibo-board nila kasi that will really trigger MPT. Kasi kung gagawin nila, ginawa na nila noon pa yun. Okay.
But don't you think that they they might get desperate and do something stupid? I mean, you never know, right?
Hindi pa naman. Kasi they already control yung waters around Ayungin Shoal. Ang nakikita kong scenario na pwede yan is kung yung Sierra Madre will manifest na yung hull integrity niya talagang it's breaking up. So, kung ako yung kabila, pwede kong isipin, sige, that now gives me an excuse.
To go in.
I'm not attacking to, I'm actually rescuing your troops.
Yeah. Kasi mamamatay kayo sa debris and all that. Yeah.
So, I'm rescuing you. So, now, since wala nang integrity yung Sierra Madre, it's no longer a ship. It loses its legal persona na warship, which is considered extension of Philippine territory. Kaya nga yung the very rationale kung bakit ginaharang nila yung construction materials was to make sure na mapapabilis na yung breakup ng Sierra Madre.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Zhang yata yung PLA lieutenant yata yung nagsabi na in 2013 no na yung structural integrity na ito ay compromised na. So it's just a matter of time na gigiba yan. Kaya from 2014-15 onwards, they really stepped up itong effective siege nila no on Ayungin Shoal. So obviously, now they're disappointed because hindi natuloy yan. And honestly, do you think there was really that gentleman's agreement with Digong? Na talaga you think Digong understood what he was offering them or Digong was just saying Digong stuff and the Chinese bought it? I mean, sino nagbudol dyan? Sino nabudol? Si Digong nabudol or yung China nabudol? I mean, kasi mukhang galit talaga ang China eh. I mean, honestly, Admiral, correct me if I'm wrong, I will trust China more than Digong on these issues. I think mas honest ang China. At least they love their country. I'm sure they're patriots. I mean.
Well, I think maybe there was a sort of an informal discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, you do this, then we will not do this. Okay. Ang alam ko, ang kinakatakutan kasi ng China, particularly kung yung partagulan tayo sa kanila in media, is they will lose face before their own general public.
Yeah.
Yun yung kinakatakutan nila. Kasi kung magagalit sa kanila yung Chinese population nila, then they have to be more aggressive. They're forced to be more aggressive sa atin. To compensate for that yung parang lumalabas incompetent sila.
Or nabudol sila. Exactly. Kaya nga sabi ko, may genuine anger talaga mga Chinese dito eh. Parang mukhang genuinely nabudol sila ni Digong or something like that. So what could be the off-ramp for China? Okay, I know this is already DFA beyond our pay grade. Pero if you and I were to negotiate, let's say, modus vivendi here, what would be the least bad modus vivendi that could end or prevent the total, end this crisis or at least prevent this escalating? Like, kung ang concern mo dito is napahiya yung mga Chinese and they have to show quote-unquote competence, what can they get short of overtaking BRP Sierra Madre that could be a modus vivendi? Do you get what I'm saying? Mahirap to eh. This is really tough kasi
Sinabi na nila,
otherwise, one side has to back down. Diba? Ganun lang kasimple yan.
sinabi na nila to Richard yung offer nila. I think a month ago, a few weeks ago. If you really listen closely, sabi nila, this was after yung we were trying to evacuate somebody ng may sakit o may problema dyan sa namin Sierra Madre, sa tropa. After that incident, sabi nila, if you just ask permission or inform us, we will let you pass.
So,
So to me, I interpret that as yung off-ramp na nila.
Yun yung tributary
But of course,
respect. Parang just give us that kowtow, tributary
yes.
charot.
But of
We'll get
course,
through it, yeah.
hindi palatambol sa atin yun. Kasi that's already tantamount to saying, we recognize that you own that area or you have sovereign rights over that area. That's why we're asking permission. Yun yung yun yung sa ating side naman. Yung problema doon sa Pero I think that is the off-ramp nila.
Let me make a proposal. What if we make it this way? We pseudo-coordinate with them on Ayungin. They pseudo-coordinate with us on Panatag Shoal. I don't know. Like, each side gets something for their... Parang sasabihin natin na hindi naman tayo, hindi naman tayo nag-give up ng BRP. In fact nga, mga Chinese nagko-coordinate din sa atin sa Panatag. I don't know, like, can't it be kind of a quid pro quo like that, whereby each of us, I don't know, create an illusion of joint control or something like that? I don't know. I know that sounds crazy, but that's one thing that comes to my mind. If this is really about saving face, which is important to us Asians, then each of us can give something to the other side. And then each side can do their own domestic blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
It must be in an ecosystem of trust. Kasi I don't see that trust now eh. So,
Yeah.
if what you're saying is gusto mo yung ganung concept o yung strategy, we need to rebuild yung diplomatic engagement natin sa kanya, which is actually in tatters. Nasira siya yung for the past year.
Yeah, but hindi naman natin kasalanan yan, di ba? I mean, Admiral, sila yung nagbubulis. Okay, then this is my question. Does that mean we should end the Transparency Initiative? Kasi, let's be honest, all kudos to Philippine Coast Guard. But as long as this is under the flashlight, the spotlight, this is scrutiny 24/7, you cannot create that environment of trust in the sense that each side is just trying to embarrass the other side, right? Do you think that potentially we have to end the Transparency Initiative and then in the quiet and in the dark kind of sort out the off-ramp situation, right? I'm just, diba, what we're doing here, we're really thinking about ways to de-escalate this in the open. Create a kind of a de facto regime. Yeah.
I will agree with you, Richard, partially, no?
Diba?
Kasi ang position ko rito kasi ganito eh. And it's not about the Transparency Initiative per se, no? We need to use all the levers of power natin eh, yung dime, we call it the dime, di ba? Yung diplomacy,
Right.
information, military component sa economic. Dito, yung transparency falls under the I, the information part. And for a long time, ito yung pinaka-main, yung lead natin, yung I, yung transparency.
Right.
Medyo na-subdued yung D part, yung diplomacy, tama ka. So maybe ang akin naman dito, we're not saying totally out na yung Transparency Initiative, but rather, we need to calibrate this, is for tools of statecraft eh. Sometimes yung military component ang angat, the others are subdued. Sometimes yung transparency ang angat, the others are subdued. Depende sa Again, depende sa strategy mo. Okay? But definitely, hindi pwede ang strategy natin dito is just transparency. It's only a component of one holistic.
Yeah. Necessary but not sufficient. Yeah.
Oo. So dapat it's working in synergy yung tools of statecraft. So I agree with you, but it's not totally doing away with it, but rather calibrating it.
So you bring down one, you bring up others, 'di ba? Parang yun eh, parang calibration yun sa
fine-tune mo siya.
fine tuning, exactly. Tweak it, fine tune it. So
Parang parang fine-tuning ng piano, yung keyboard. So para hindi
That's
siya
a good
sintonado,
metaphor.
you have to tweak yung keys eh.
Yeah, that's a good metaphor. Yeah, I mean, again, all due respect, I think our Philippine Coast Guard, patriots have done a great job. Ang akin lang kasi dito is, I think it's time for some tactical reconfiguration. I think it's unfair to say transparency is bad or useless or not working. It's just a matter of, tama ka, how do you balance it in the bigger package of DIME, military, diplomatic, and economic. Economic, halos walang nangyayari in terms of new investments. Military, well, medyo malayo-layo pa tayo sa China and time to. But going to the military part, maybe last part na ito, Admiral Ong, what about the proposals that we have to use faster boats, faster inflatable boats, and also proposals that the U.S. could lease us some of their, I don't know, newly transfer probably some of the newly retired littoral combat ships, maybe lease us some of the more high speed boats. I think the UK, British, the Pacific, di ba? Maganda yung ano na yan, version na yan. What about in terms of capacity building on that front? And lastly, should we also look at the scenario whereby the Americans de facto do an over-horizon joint patrols with us? Not directly with us, but always be kind of over the horizon with their warships and all of that. Oh, by the way, yes, tama yung iba. Gamit din tayo ng mga choppers, more helicopters, more drones. Is that an option? Including chopper ni Alice Go, yung mga ganon. Pwede natin gamitin yung mga ganon, Justice. Ay,
I will not
Admiral. Nag-justice ako kasi I used this with Justice.
Alin ka pa?
Admiral, sorry. Ay, hindi Kanina, twice. Oh my God, Admiral. Kasi kahapon lang with Justice Carver. I'm so sorry. Admiral.
Okay. I will not go for faster boats.
Napagalitan tuloy ako.
Go for bigger boats.
Yeah.
What I will do, yung doable.
Good point.
I will charter large bulk carrier cargo ships or charter an oil tanker.
Yes, I saw that proposal. Yeah.
Yung malaki.
Yeah.
Bibili ako 3.
Go big.
Charter ako 3.
Yeah.
Isa para sa Ayungin, isa para sa Scarborough, isa para sa Binasol. Okay? Tapos iaangkla ko na lang yun sa labas ng show. So, meron na siyang helicopter, pwede mo siyang lagyan ng rib o ng rubber boat. Tapos kompleto na, nakastore na lahat yung gamit ko. Hindi na kailangan umalis yung cargo ship na yun o yung oil tanker na yun. May sarili siyang desalinization system, so we will just recycle salt water to purified water. Yun ang gagawin ko. Kahit i-water cannon yun, mas mataas yung freeboard nun eh. Okay? Kung bungguin nila, masaya sila. Kasi ang laki nun eh.
Right.
So it's not faster, it's bigger. Okay? Yun din yung rationale nila why they constructed yung yung tinatawag nila monster coast guard vessel, yung monster ship, which has been loitering around our exclusive economic zone for the past few days. So bigger, and you don't need to leave pag may bagyo. To stay there.
That's a good point.
Yeah. The reason why nagka-problema tayo sa Scarborough Shoal noon before, kasi may bagyo noon eh. And our ships had to leave for shelter. Okay. Kaya naungusan tayo rin, naisahan tayo rin. So if you have bigger ships, you can stay there as long as you want. So that's my solution.
Yeah, I've seen that proposal too. Why not both? Go big, go fast. Go big and then magpadala ka ng mga fast boat from those big vessels.
Okay, it's a big boat. You anchor it there or loiter it there.
Exactly.
It carries the fast boat. So you just
exactly.
the fast boat.
Go big, go fast. Yeah.
Oh, and you can carry helicopters.
Helicopter, exactly. You tick all the boxes.
So kaya nga, you disrupt yung niya eh. You have to disrupt you have to make the supply corridor irrelevant. Okay? The only way you can do that is you put in something there that doesn't need that supply corridor. And that's a bigger ship na kaya tumagal doon for even months or a year. Okay? Self-sustained siya and it carries all the bells and whistles for naval activities.
So why they're not doing that so far? I mean, I've seen this proposal right and left, but bakit sa tingin mo, Admiral, they're not doing it yet? Because that's the next step? Because baka yung pork barrel masyadong malaki, walang budget for it. I mean, um, or maybe, hindi ba, kaya baka mahuthi ng mga Chinese yan? Baka ihuthi nila yan?
I don't see them introducing
Mm,
anti-ship missiles sa
yeah.
kasi meron din tayo kapibili lang natin ng Brahmos. The purpose of we're still in the phase na
Yeah.
i-install pa siya. Pero once up and running na yan, so patas lang ang laban dyan.
Or they do Somalia piracy style. Hindi. You think we can also defend it? Gusto nila umakyat, ganyan.
Hindi, yung piracy, yung capability natin ng piracy, hindi sa kanila yun.
Sa atin yun.
Sa atin yun. I mean, you want another crazy idea.
Yung ba yung Badyaw at saka mga Moro, isama natin? Yung tanong.
Hindi, yung mga retired na Abu Sayyaf, yung
Yung mga Moro at saka mga Badyaw. Oh.
yung mga nagbalik buhay, nag-mainstream
Reintegration,
na,
demobilization.
nag-demobilize ng mga Abu Sayyaf. Pwede natin i-repurpose yun.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right?
Tayo mag-board sa kanila.
Tapos isama mo yung Badyaw para kung tumalon yan sa tubig, di mo makapulabol yan. Forever yan.
Ang katapat lang naman doon, maglagay tayo ng training school sa sa Ulo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Para ma-process sila, ma-train, ma-process, then reintegrate to the to the force.
And
Then you have this ex Abu Sayyaf and mga Badyaw na as your main yung tropa gagamitin natin. So,
shock team, well, I mean,
para siya or team mo.
Why not, diba? I'm sure and you're gonna help the peace process in Mindanao. I mean, why not, diba? You take you provide employment, you help reintegration, diba?
Correct.
I mean, that was, tinanong ko rin kay Justice yun na,
Tsaka ron, sanay sila sa mga melee weapons.
machete, bolo-bolo
Machete.
nila yan. Yeah. Yun nga eh.
So,
And Admiral, do you think we also need Krav Maga training sa mga Navy natin? Hindi lang yung self-defense, yung mga defense, yung ganun, di ba? Yun ang gusto ko sa Krav Maga. It's defense, offense kaagad eh. It's not just defense eh. Do you think we should go at that level and learn from the Indians also sa Himalayas? Madugo yung ginawa nila sa Himalayas eh. Nasa videos yan, nasa YouTube yan.
Actually, when I was still the head of Naval Intelligence, merong Krav Maga instructor sa Manila eh.
Yeah.
Kinontract namin eh. So, to start training yung tropa namin eh. So, pwede naman yun eh. But, siguro you just aim for, let's say, 1 battalion of troops na train sa Krav Maga. Kasi hindi naman immediate yan eh.
Yeah.
So, mag-focus ka muna, 1 battalion of troops, train them in hand-to-hand combat. Yun yung then you deploy them. Pwede yun.
Yeah, di ba? I mean, maganda tong discussion eh. I think pwede na pakinggan ng mga kasama natin dyan. Andyan na lahat. O Arnis daw, Arnis, para naman promote din natin yung Filipino arts. Martial arts.
You watched, di ba? You watched Dude.
Oo nga no, Arnis yung oo nga no. Yes, I'm a big fan of oo nga no.
Di ba, yung context no, they cannot use laser weapon.
Kasi ma-detect sila.
No, that will create, pag tumama sa shield, that will create an explosion. Kaya nag-level down yung technology nila, they use bladed weapons.
Yeah.
Yung pinakaano nila. So, actually,
Arnis
medyo
yung ginamit.
science fiction na tayo, no? Pero,
no, I mean,
the point is, what's wrong with, repurposing a battalion of troops purely for hand-to-hand combat? I mean,
yeah, why not?
Pwede naman eh.
Definitely. Lastly, I keep on saying lastly, but ihabol ko lang to. I want to push a little bit on this. Do you think that the MDT, I mean, I know you answered it, Admiral, but be more, do you think the MDT should say not only armed attack, but any kind of fatal assault? So, whether kutsilyo or machete or barel, pag pumatay ka ng Filipino serviceman, yun na yan. Do you think that rephrasing is necessary? Because last year, the Indo-Pacific Command came up with this declassified paper, na I'm sure you saw it, whereby it says na hindi lang dapat kinetic, i.e. usage of live ammunitions, it has to also cover non-kinetic actions that could lead to among others, bodily injury and all. Do you think that level of further clarification or expansion of the definition is necessary to make the MDT deterrence-wise more effective?
Parang Richard, ano yan eh, it's a debate between do you consider the input or the outcome. Okay? So if you do that, we look at the outcome. Ibig sabihin, pag may namatay o may nasaktan, regardless of how it was happened, that triggers the MDT. But of course, that requires conversation between us and the US. Hindi naman pwedeng unilaterally, But, may dagdag lang ako, and dahil nag-attend ako ng cybersecurity conference
Sige po.
sa araw. Cyber, particularly it's targeted sa critical infrastructure like power, telecoms, tapos it creates casualties.
Exactly.
Dapat i-consider na rin yun.
As an arm attack.
Kasi wala pa namang wala pang cyber.
Yeah, but we saw that with the Stuxnet, diba? With the Stuxnet, diba? Yung mga cyber attacks na, you can affect mechanical developments, including nuclear facilities, of course. That's the context of Stuxnet. Imagine if sumabog yung nuclear facility na yan and created casualties. That could have been counted as an act of war, diba?
Yes.
So we are, I mean, more than 10 years ago na yan. So that means we're way into an era of cyber warfare as a... So, kaya nga ang point ko doon is, we move from a modality-based definition to a consequence-based. Diba? Hindi mo tinitingnan kung anong ginagamit, ang tinitingnan mo yung consequence. So kaya nga hindi dapat modality obsessed yung, or dapat modality what's the term? Neutral yung definition, right? Or agnostic, modality agnostic, yeah.
Correct. Kasi kasi merong mga discussions na the most likely scenario if we have this conflict with China, ang mauuna would be a cyber attack. Kasi yun yung in terms of attribution, yun yung mahirap yan.
Absolutely.
Mahirap okay, si China yung galing doon. It can come from anywhere. Or it can come from private sector. So mahirap eh.
Exactly. On that note, thank you very much, Admiral Ong. Let me just be very... Hindi ka naman kita tinawag na Justice Ong. At least, Admiral. Huwag kang mag-alala. Ginaganon din kami ni Ronald Llamas. Tawag niya sa akin, Christian. Tawag niya Christian Richard. But di sa TV, ginawa niyan sa Storycon. Sabi ni Patrick, Richard yan! Bakit? Kaya mo na yan. Wala na yan. Hindi na natutulog yan. So, pasensya na lang, Admiral Ong. For some slips up here and there, nakakaawa pala si Ronald Llamas. Thank you so much na pinatulan mo din yung all Duterte, 3 Duterte, budol me once, vote me thrice, discussion natin. And thank you so much dito sa operational discussion yan. Pero di ba, nakita mo yung thinking it out loud, di ba? Yung off-ramp sa akin, mahalaga yan eh. There could be no diplomacy if you cannot think about creative, reasonable, mutually beneficial off-ramps na hindi mag-undermine. Kaya naisip ko, one crazy idea is, kunyari lang may coordination, liaison ang term, di ba? We liaison it with them, pero mag-liaison din sila. Something along those lines so that each of us can save our face and then maintain the status quo on terms that are beneficial to us. I mean, I only can think of that honestly. So, sige, sabihin ko na sa DFA yan bukas. But this is one thing I was thinking about. So, thank you so much, Admiral, for that intervention. And yeah, I wanted to also hear that should we also go big, not only fast. And in fact, you can have them both. Diba? You can go big and then put the fast boats on it and choppers and all of that. So in short, mahaba pang marathon to. Marami pang pwede mangyari. So in short, you don't think we should press the panic button yet, right? Ano lang tayo, vigilant lang tayo.
Correct. They've disrupted yung strategy natin o tactics natin. We need to restore balance. So we need to disrupt yung pag-disrupt nila sa atin. Basically, yun.
Right. Create a new equilibrium, no? Whereby we have more agency and room for maneuver. Thank you so much, Admiral, for that fantastic discussion. Yeah, I mean, the whole game of chess versus Go and all of that. I mean, all of these elements were there. Admiral, do you have a new article on this issue? I saw you had a new article. Do you want to recommend it to our readers who want to read more about your analysis dito? Sa Rappler rin, but meron din sa Rappler, di ba?
So yeah, I wrote an article, an op-ed, sa our Rappler. It's about a union actually. And it's about, we should not let that incident na union divide us, Filipinos in our nation. So, it's a recognition that one of the tools ng China is actually
Yeah.
designed to create divisiveness, create discord between among Filipinos and also between Filipinos and their government. Okay?
Right.
So, yung pag-lose ng trust sa government because may kapalpakan o may pagkukulang, of course, natural lang yun eh. But we need to be worried na baka that can be reinforced and that will
Weaponized.
create.
Oo, weaponized. You're right. And also give an excuse to the itago natin sa pangalan ng Makapili Club, 'di ba? To scare tactica. Kasi naman lumalaban tayo, di sana okay na. I even have some sorry for it, some idiots who message me saying na warmonger daw tayo for talking about MDT. And I mean, the guts of these people, these unpatriotic people, to have the guts to attack us or people like me to say mali kami just because we mentioned the issue of MDT. This is not about war, it's about deterrence. Hindi ko alam, dapat turuan yata, elementary pa lang anong ibig sabihin ng deterrence na. Kasi akala ng tao either suko ka or laban ka. When in fact, may tinatawag na deterrence, which is you don't even need to get into war if you know how to deter the other side. So, unfortunately, medyo poor yung strategic vocabulary natin. So, maybe you and I, Admiral, we have to contribute siguro sa sa mga curriculum revision since we're gonna have a new DepEd secretary soon. Na sana may alam talaga sa education, di ba? Salamat. Hindi ko sinabi Secretary Ong. Malay ko, baka kayong kukunin na Admiral Ong. Thank you very much po and mabuhay po kayo.
Thank you, Richard. Good
God bless. Ayan, thank you very much guys. Ayan na, nagalit na si Admiral kasi nag-justice din ako sa kanya. Pero conscious ako na hindi ko sabihin justice. Wala, sumablay pa rin tayo. Binakpak ko kasi sila. On that note, thank you very much guys dito sa mga nakinig sa atin. Mabuhay po ang lahat, lalo yung mga nagpapatawa lang dahil, alam mo minsan, sinasabi ko, huwag na natin seryosohin masyado yung ibang nagpapapansin dyan na ano lang yan nagpapa-importante, relevant lang yung mga yan di ba? Pagtawanan natin, huwag natin seryosohin. Kasi obviously, desperate na to show their relevance itong mga Dutertes na to Seryoso, tatlong tatakbo. Di sino maging mayor nila? Sabi nung isa, baka si ano. Isama nila yung mga kapitbahay nila. Sige, isama nila yung barangay chairman. Takpo silang lahat Senado, di ba? And we also know, even if you run for Senate, even if maging senador si Digong, hindi siya magkaroon ng immunity sa ICC. And even if maging senator sila, pwede pa rin silang they're not gonna be the majority in the Senate anyway. And hindi rin nila hawakan yung Congress by all. So yeah, it's more a desperate move. It's more para lang sabihin nila na relevant pa rin sila. Ito naman si Mr. Mr. Supra Analysis, 'di ba? Sabi niya, may Duterte magic pa naman daw, 'di ba? Na wag niyo naman i-dismiss. Nagpapanik daw tayong lahat, hindi nila alam. Yung mga tao pinagtatawanan na lang yung nangyari, 'di ba? Ito guys, yung paborito niyong Mr. Supra. Ayan. Ito guys, 'di ba sabi niya, akala niyo wala na ang mga Duterte magic? Hayaan natataranta ang lahat sa anunsyo sa tatlon sa kanila ang tatapong senador sa 2025. Ganda ng picture, Paris. Very Supra. Okay, on that note, thank you very much guys and talk to you soon. God bless. Ingat. Suprang thank you.